guys, it's Christine, also known as Ivy Winter. Thank you for joining me for another non-Disney video. So, coming off of my last video about chronic illness and relationships, I had a lot of different questions of people wanting me to cover other topics surrounding it. To preface, for anyone who didn't see that video, I have IBS. I've had it for 6 years. It can be moderate to severe, and it definitely has impacted my life. And so I know there are a lot of people who watch me, who follow me, who also deal with chronic illness, and I wanted to make some videos to kind of connect on this and give kind of my tips and tricks, but also just to commiserate and share my challenges, because I think that a lot of people deal with chronic illness, and sometimes we're vocal about it and sometimes we keep it close to the chest. But I don't mind being vocal about it, obviously, and thought that it would be a great way to just help some people who might be going through similar things. So this topic was actually requested off of that video, and it was about how to deal with chronic illness and work in general. My assumption is that we're talking a typical 9 to 5 or longer job, or maybe even it's another kind of job where you're working different shifts, morning shifts, night shifts, and all of that. Just working in general, having to go somewhere and be there and do work. And how do you handle that with a chronic illness? So my honest answer is it is difficult. It is not easy to do. And I think that the one thing that I've always had to teach myself is to be patient with myself and to understand that my experience with things like commuting and being at an office is just not going to be as easy as some other people, and that's okay. That's just the fact of my life, and I have to accept that, and I think that's really important. Part of the reason why I quit my job last year, my full-time job, and went freelance, a part of it was because of my IBS. I don't want to say that that was the whole reason. There was actually a lot of different reasons why I decided to make that decision, but it was a part of that decision. Because commuting every single day, especially in public transportation, I live in New York, so I don't drive. I'm on the subway, on a bus, whatever. It was very anxiety-inducing for someone like me who, especially in the mornings, feels ill, but at any time in the day can feel ill. And the commute especially was the most difficult part for me, especially because I was not in control of what was happening. I was kind of stuck on the train or whatever the situation might be, not driving, not able to stop and pull over or anything like that. It was also tough being in the office. I worked at a digital agency. We had a lot of meetings, a lot of phone calls. My whole day sometimes could be filled with things like this. And that was very difficult for me if I had to stop what I was doing and leave and go to the bathroom. And it became something that was weighing down a little bit on my performance and just weighing down on myself. So it was part of the reason why I decided to work from home. Now, if you guys have followed me on Twitter and have even heard me talk about this a little bit in videos, I do have a contract job right now that I do go into the office Monday through Thursday. It is only through September, so it is temporary, and that is part of the reason why I take contract jobs here and there, is because I know that they are temporary. But I still deal with all of the problems I had before when I was working full-time. I think one of the things that even I still struggle with is understanding that your chronic illness is going to act up at some point during the week, maybe multiple times during the week, and it might slow you down. It might make you late for work, and you're gonna get frustrated with yourself, and you get into this cycle, and you really get into this self-defeating attitude that you feel bad that you're late for work and you can't function like a normal human being, etc., etc. I know a lot of people deal with this, and I think something that I'm still trying to learn, and I think other people need to learn, is to forgive yourself. You can't control your body. Do you have a chronic illness? That's it. You cannot control whether you're gonna feel well or not. You can take medication, you can try to help, you can eat certain foods or do certain things that you know will keep certain pains or issues from being triggered as much as possible, but there's only so much that you can do. So I think you have to accept that, yes, you're gonna be late today, and that's okay because you can't control your body, so being angry about it is not going to help you. It's just gonna stress you out even more. For a lot of people, chronic illness, stress and anxiety makes their pain worse, so you're just gonna make yourself feel worse. So you just have to tell yourself that there's nothing you can do. Now you might think, well, okay, well, there's nothing I can do, but my boss is gonna be really pissed if I don't show up or if I'm really late. And my advice to you, as awkward as this might feel, is to tell your boss. That was something that I didn't really do when I was first working, and I saw it reflecting on my performance that I was showing up late, and eventually had to just tell my boss anyway because it came up in a conversation and I had to explain, like, this is what is happening. I've always found that telling someone just clears the air. They understand what's going on. They know you're not a slacker then, because I think that could be what they're thinking, right? Like, oh, well, Christine's just like constantly late. She can't get it together. Maybe she doesn't care about this job. But if I come to my boss and say, look, I have this chronic illness. There's nothing I can do about it. It's especially impactful in the morning. I'm trying very hard to wake up earlier in the morning to get through it. I'm trying very hard to get here on time. Sometimes I'll have to take a cab. Sometimes I'll have to, find another way. But sometimes I'm late, and it's not because I don't care, it's because there's nothing I can do. When I've had those conversations, I have always found people to be understanding. Will it always work? Probably not. If you have a boss who's a total butthole and says it's not an excuse, then you need to leave that job. You need to have a job that's going to work with you as best as possible, because your chronic illness is not going anywhere, right? So you cannot be stressed and anxious about having to be somewhere on time, exactly on the dot, because your boss doesn't want to hear what you have to say or understand what you're going through. So that's my first bit of advice. If you go and you tell your boss and they're kind of an ass about it, you need to leave that job and find a job that's going to better understand your situation, because it's not worth it. It's not worth killing yourself over being on time or being in certain meetings or whatever it might be. Now, to be fair, I only ever told my bosses. I never told my coworkers, and that did sometimes make things awkward because I could be sitting in a really important meeting and just have to get up and leave. And the truth is, we were all adults, and they knew that I was gonna come back, and they knew that I would catch up on what I missed. And if there was ever an issue, because my boss knew what was going on, she could always go to bat for me if there's ever an issue about me walking out of a meeting. But I can tell you right now, there never really was, because people came and left as they needed to. If you got a phone call that was super serious and you had to step out of the meeting room, would anyone get on your case? Probably not. I think you have to accept when you don't feel well and when you need to take time away. Even if that's 5 minutes, and even if it's completely different than IBS and it's something like maybe you're having a panic attack and you need to get away for a few minutes, then you need to do that. You need to do what's gonna make you feel as good as possible. I would say my biggest issue with working even now is less about being in the office, because personally I know that I have a bathroom and I'll be okay for the most part. I get a little nervous with client meetings, not so much with phone calls, because I'm usually on a call with someone else and I know if I need to get out of there, they can take over. But my biggest issue is commuting. And, I say I take public transportation, that's tough, but I know people who drive and it's tough for them as well. Maybe you can't physically drive every day. Like maybe you're dealing with terrible arthritis or some other pain that's making driving painful. I totally understand that commuting can be hard for anyone, whatever you're dealing with. And I think that is the biggest form of anxiety. We wake up in the morning thinking, am I gonna feel well going to work today? What has honestly helped me, and this might sound lame for a lot of people, but I do a lot of meditation. I actually have the Calm app, which is one of those meditation apps. Another one like it is Headspace. And I listen to it when I'm on the train, when I'm starting to panic about if I'm gonna feel well or not, and maybe I'm bringing on some pain from my panic. I put one on and I can set it to a certain amount of time. So if I know this train ride is gonna be 10-15 minutes until I transfer or whatever, I will put it on for that long and I will do like a calming anxiety meditation. And that's what I do. And I pop in my earbuds and I close my eyes and I do my breathing exercises and I listen to the guiding voice, and I don't care about anyone else around me. I have to get through this moment to get to work. And it has been a really big help for me. But I think it's also important to know if you can stop. Are there places you can pull over? Are there subway stops you can get off of? If you need to go somewhere, have that planned out. I think having a plan makes it so much easier because you're going to be way more anxious if you have no plan. So that's kind of how I deal with work. Like I said, commuting, it's a lot of meditation. I am open and honest with the people I work for about what is going on with me. I try to basically forgive myself when I don't feel well. And fortunately, I do have a position where I can work from home when need be, and I think that's also really important. And again, if you have a boss or a job that after you tell them what's going on is not going to help you or be understanding or give you a little bit of leeway, then find another job. I'm not saying quit on the spot. I get it. We all need money. We can't always just make decisions like that, but start looking for something better that's going to work for you in your life, because you cannot pretend to be 100% healthy. You're not. I'm not. That's just the way that life is. So instead of trying to stress yourself out to be something you're not, you need to find a job that's going to work for what you are and what you're dealing with. I hope that helps a little bit. I know it was a little bit rambly. I didn't exactly write notes for this or anything, but I hope that helps for people who were thinking about like chronic illness and working. If you deal with a chronic illness and you work a job, I would love to know in the comments below, what do you do? How do you make it easier for you? What is your biggest tips for being a working, contributing member of society? Because it is tough, I know that. Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, then like it. If you want to see more like this, definitely let me know, because this channel is usually Disney stuff. And I will make these kinds of videos as long as you want to see it. So tell me and I will keep making them. Thank you so much for watching and just for listening. And I hope you got something out of this. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. Bye.